Hello, I'm your Kingdom Spiritual Transformational and Life Purpose Life Coach and Mentor Latricia Booker. And I'm popping in on you to tell you that your enemies thought they had you trapped. Your enemies thought they had you trapped. And so I'm going to lead this message with Ezekiel 13, chapter 13, verses 17 through 23. And it's a little bit lengthy, so please just bear with me. And so it says, "Now, son of man, speak out against the women who prophesy from their own imaginations. This is what the sovereign Lord says. What sorrow awaits you women who are ensnaring the souls of my people, young and old alike. You tie magic charms on their wrists and furnish them with magic veils. Do you think you can trap others without bringing destruction on yourselves? You bring shame on me among my people for a few handfuls of barley or a piece of bread. By lying to my people who love to listen to lies, you kill those who should not die, and you promise life to those who should not live. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against all your magic charms, which you use to ensnare my people like birds. I will tear them from your arms, setting my people free like birds set free from a cage. I will tear off the magic veils and save my people from your grasp. They will no longer be your victims. Then you will know that I am the Lord. You have discouraged the righteous with your lies, but I didn't want them to be sad. And you have encouraged the wicked by promising them life, even though they continue in their sins. Because of all this, you will no longer talk of seeing visions that you never saw. You will not make predictions, for I will rescue my people from your grasp. Then you will know that I am the Lord." And so, kingdom people, listen. Your enemies thought they had you trapped. They thought all of their little magic spells, all their little hoodoo, voodoo, any form of witchcraft, word curses, even giving you items. I've learned this, how people will give you items as a way to curse you, as a way to even monitor you, to see what's going on in your life. They will give you things, and then you bring these things into your home. I had a person, I'll say, who is actually a relative. I actually had a few relatives, but two for sure that I know that their intention was to curse me and or my child. I should say my child too, because some things were given to my child in one instance. And so, items can be given to you to curse you, to ensnare you. And it even says it here how I will tear them from your arms, setting my people. No, that's not it. You tie magic charms on their wrists and furnish them with magic veils. And so even in that, it's a way of putting a veil over you to keep you from seeing what's actually going on. But again, it's all designed to curse you, to keep you stuck, to keep you stagnant. I want to say make you stuck, because I know in my own personal experience, I was of the attitude that I'm not stuck. I can get out of whatever I'm in. I just got to do what's necessary, let God lead me, figure it out, let God show me, and do what needs to be done. But their intention is to keep you, to have you bound. Let me say that. Keep you bound sometimes, yes, but have you bound. And people will actually give you items. As I said, I had a relative who did that with me. They gave me some clothing items. One time they left a pair of footy socks in my car. They wanted to ride with me to go somewhere. And I learned that was part of why, because they wanted to drop their item. It was seemingly done as an accident, but it was done on purpose. And when I mentioned to them that they left it, they told me to keep it, use them. So it was their plan to curse me with that item. And they had not long before that given me some clothing items. And I actually wore one of the items. It was an outfit, And then after a little bit, after I wore it once or twice, God told me to throw it in the garbage. He kind of told me to throw everything that they gave me in the garbage. And like I said, I had another relative that gave my daughter some items, and she would just rip them up. It was so weird, especially she gave us some bras and some other clothing items. And my daughter wouldn't wear the bras. She just would rip them up. And so God told me, no, and the ones that she didn't rip up, He told me to just put them away. Don't let her wear them. Eventually, He told me to throw them away. And so all the items that this person had given my daughter, I ended up throwing away. And there was another person that had given my daughter some items. I don't think their intention was to curse her, but because of their state, their condition, that's what it was for her. And so sometimes people on purpose, as I was saying, do these things to curse you, to put these spells on you. And so not going too much further into that, the whole point of this message is to say how your enemies thought they had you trapped, particularly the ones that on purpose have been working on you, have been trying to trap you, have been trying to keep you under a spell, keep you blinded from who you are, keep you from moving in who you are. They thought they had you trapped, as the scripture says, but God said that He sets you free, because it says even here, you have discouraged the righteous with your lies, but I didn't want them to be sad. And many a times these people want you to be sad. They want you miserable. They want you depressed. They don't want you to feel good about yourself. They don't want you confident. They don't want you to know who you are and to step into who you are. And many a times what they do is try to keep you from knowing who you are. And I think it's so amazing that they go through all these extremes and you still find out who you are. You still know who you are and begin to walk into who you are, and even begin to understand what's really going on, because God shows you what's going on. And they tend to show you too, because they do certain things, they say certain things that are questionable. But the thing is, God is not going to let them trap you. He may seemingly allow it for a time, for some seasons, but when it's time, listen, even though the vision tarry, wait for it. For at the right time, am I saying that right? Even though it tarry, wait for it. Because at the right time, it's going to happen. It shall do what God said it will do. It will. And so even during those times where they were keeping you or thinking they were keeping you bound, and in some cases those things were affecting you, again, God allowed it because He knew when the time was right, when He was good and ready for you to do what you needed to do, what He called you to do, that none of what they did would matter. And that's when He will begin to show you what's really going on, so you can separate yourself from them. Because what happens too is the only way that those things can have any effect, even minimal, is if you're around them, if you're engaging with them, if you have any dealings or relationship with them. And so God has I'm hearing Kairos. I think I'm saying it right. Kairos. Kairos, this is your Kairos time, your Kairos moment. Kairos. I think I'm saying it right. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Kairos. I think that's how it's spelled. And that just means divine timing, God's divine timing. So in God's divine timing, anything that He called you to, anything He called you to be, whatever He wants to do in your life is going to happen when it's time, when it's your Kairos time, when it's your Kairos season. And for many of you, that's what it is. But they thought they had you trapped. Your enemies thought they had you trapped. And they found out, or they're finding out, that just is not so. And when I was reflecting on this message earlier today, I was thinking about how, as I already kind of said, how, they do everything to keep you from knowing who you are, to keep you from stepping. If you begin to know who you are, they try to keep you from stepping into who you are. And when God was speaking to me about all of this, I just found it interesting, because what I thought of is I always had an inkling of who I was. of that I was somebody significant, because God would let me know. He would consistently let me know, and people around me would let me know too, by the way they behave towards me, and not necessarily in a good way, some in a good way, but because people have spoken, prophesied to me, and said certain things. God would use people to do that, and I pretty much would keep it to myself. And like I said, God would share certain things with me. I just always had this inner knowing. And it was more so a matter of growing into it, learning exactly what it was. And as time went on, even though there were a lot of obstacles and hardships, I just always pushed through, because I knew I was pushing through to something. Because God just always encouraged me. It just was always something in me that just knew it was something out there better waiting on me. And so, again, as I went on, with my life, God would just show me more and more of me, who He called me to be, what He put in me, who I am, what I was, even in the midst of obstacles, even in the midst of craziness going on, even in the midst of people trying to stop and block and all that. But again, I kept these things to myself. So I'm saying all that to say that even though they went through extremes to keep it from happening, there was always something in me that kept me pushing. Even though they tried to keep these things from happening, they didn't understand that I knew who I was. And God just continued to I want to say reignite in me who I was, but more than that, show me more of who I was. And so that was just more encouragement and more motivation to keep pushing through. And as I already said, at some point He began to just really show me who people really were. Even though the signs were there for the most part, even though I seen certain things, when He really showed me who people were as far as, listen, they work for the devil, period. Like, they are basically the devil's children, and they don't mean you well. And then, like I said, kind of began to show me the witches and even the warlocks, and really how, what you gonna do with that but separate yourself, because who wants to work with the devil? Well, I don't. But the whole thing, King of people, is that your enemies thought they had you trapped, but God had other plans for you. God had other plans for you. And it even says here, because of all this, you will no longer talk of seeing visions that you never saw, nor will you make predictions. And so what God showed me concerning this is, these people had their own idea. It's like we say, they want this, they want you to be this, they have these own imaginations and these own predictions of what your life gonna be, as if it's up to them. But that's actually what they be trying to do. Imagine how they want your life and then try to carry it out. But God say, and it says here, because of all this, you will no longer talk of seeing visions that you never saw. You never saw that because God never showed you that. God showed you, if anything, who God showed them who you really are. Because sometimes people can't see who you are. Why you think they do what they do? Try to stop and block what they trying to stop and block. If ain't nothing there to stop and block, if they can't see somewhat of who you are, somewhat. And for some, a little more than that. But it says, because of all this, you will no longer talk of seeing visions that you never saw, nor will you make predictions. In other words, you ain't finna predict on my child's life, because I do that. God say, I am God. I'm the one who dictate what's going to happen to my children's life. And then it says, for I will rescue my people from your grasp. Then you will know that I am the Lord. And listen, that's what He's done, and that's what He's doing, Kingdom people. He's rescuing you from their seemingly grasp. In some cases, yeah, from their grasp. He's setting you free, as it says here. This is what the sovereign Lord says in verse 20. I am against all your magic charms, which you use to ensnare my people like birds. I will tear them from your arms, setting my people free like birds set free from a cage. I will tear off the magic spells, off the magic veils, and save my people from your grasp. See, again, God will allow it for a certain time, but when God is good and ready, He snatch you from them. He take you from the snatch you from their grasp. He set you free like a bird. And that's why you start to fly. That's why you end up mounting up on wings as eagles. And begin to use those wings and do what thus said the Lord. Moving into your purpose. Moving into your destiny. Moving into every and anything that God called you to be and called you to do. And moving into and receiving everything that He has for you. Yeah, kingdom people, that's because He has set you free. They want to hold you in their grasp because they thought they had you trapped, kingdom people. They want to keep you down. They want to keep you from moving into what God called you to be. We know this. We done heard it before. But the whole point here is that your enemies thought they had you trapped. They thought they had you. But God said, And that's what's happening right now, kingdom people. It don't matter where you are. You are being awakened. You are being enlightened. You are being awakened to the truth of what's really going on. Many of you are being awakened to the truth of what's going on with your loved ones, including your family. I'm so sorry to say this, but for some of you, your husband or your wives, your mates, even maybe your children, your co-workers, your bosses, your girl, your boy, your friends from way back then. You know what I'm saying, kingdom? Some kingdom people, some of y'all people thought that, sometimes these people do be your girl. They do be your boy. I was thinking about that the other day. A young lady who, that was my girl. I was thinking of her the other day. I don't remember exactly what prompted that, but we, back in the days, we used to get high together. You know, that's what we did. But that was my girl. And to be honest, before we started doing that, we were just cool. But then that cool led into, that's what we were doing, getting high. And the high we used to do escalated to a different kind of getting high. We went from weed to primos. If you know, you know. Yeah, I used to smoke primos back in the days. And, you know, kingdom people, that thing can take on a life of its own. And what happened was, this young lady, I knew her when I would hang out with her. Sometimes she knew another young lady. I knew another young lady through her. So sometimes we used to go and hang out with this other young lady she knew. But she was real bad. Her situation was real bad. She was like, that stuff was getting the worst of her. And not saying that, you know, we didn't need any improvement. You know, we didn't need to get our life right, but her situation was bad. And she just wasn't taking proper care of her children, and they just weren't in the best condition. She lived with her mom. Her mom pretty much cared for the children for the most part, but when she would be home, you know, they would kind of somewhat be with her, but you could just tell they weren't properly taken care of. You could just tell that she just wasn't, that stuff was taking her over. And, you know, I used to even feel bad just being there sometimes, but it was for me to see how that stuff can do people. And of course it didn't ever get me like that, but that was all by the grace of God. And then I just had this thing that I wasn't finna let it do that to me. I also had this thing where I would go in and out. I would stop for periods of time, and then I would end up doing it again. And then there was other people that I hung out with that, you know, we participated in this together, and they all just couldn't understand, how do you go do this in and out? How do you stop? Then I would come back around, I would stop. Eventually, you know, then it'd be longer stretches of period before, you know, for me not doing it. And then I have a moment of doing it, but not long, just a little minute. And they couldn't understand how I was doing that. But part of of course, it was the grace of God. But bigger than that, I didn't want to just live like that. I wasn't going to let that thing just get me. And I always had this thing, and I ain't meaning to go into all this, but I must need to. I had this thing where, you know, that stuff can control you. If you having you tweaking, you just want some more and some more and some more. That wasn't good. And so I had set it up in myself like, I'm not going to let this stuff control me. I'm going to control it. And I did got a pretty good handle on that, but it was just a lot of work. And I just felt like overall there was no way to live. So anyway, kingdom people, going back to my original point of even bringing this up, that this young lady, in particular, like I said, we went out, we will go to this young lady's house that she knew, and sometimes we did, and we did what we did when we did what we was doing. And so years later, we was getting ourselves together, and me and my friend, we was hanging out on a different note. And we wasn't on that no more. We had stopped doing that. We were getting our lives right. We were both going to church. I would even go to church with her sometimes. And with the church that she grew up in, and her mom had still went there. That's where she went back to when she was getting herself together. And we was hanging out in a different way, going out to eat, going out shopping, doing different things. And then one day we went and we hung out with this young lady her friend that I just spoke of. And she was getting her life right too. And so I just was thinking about that the other day, how that was just so cool, how we were able to hang out in a different way. We weren't doing it the way we used to. And that's rare. But I was just thankful to God, and I was thinking how cool that was. Then I started to remember how the friend of mine, that was my girl. Like, that was my girl. But I would have to remove myself from her off and on. Maybe a few times I've had to do it, because it's this spirit that would come out of her and that would be on one with me. And it was what it was, to the point I had to completely just leave her, just kind of let her go. She had moved to the state. I had come in contact, this is like several years ago now, realized she was living in the state that I was living in at the time, that I had moved to from our hometown. And I think we had connected somehow on Facebook and got to talking, and went and hung out with her one time. And after that, she started doing that craziness again. And I was like, And God even moved me to tell her what was going on with her. And of course, she was just kind of like, "No, I'm a child of God. That's of the devil, what you talking about," which was true. And I just let it be, because is a child of God, and she was a child of God, but there was some stuff going on in her that wasn't of God, as we know that can happen. So that was that. And my whole point in bringing that up was that was my girl. That was my girl. But I had to separate myself from her because of what was going on with her. And I think I mentioned all that to just say, sometimes you think people is your girl or your boy, and they might be, but sometimes them spirits that get to working in them, where they starting to come against you, and that's when you have to draw the line and you have to remove yourself, because now they are an enemy of yours. So going back to my original message, Kingdom people, after I shared all that, your enemies thought they had you trapped. Yes, in this case, the enemy was trying to use my friend to trap me. I don't want to go into details of what their aim was, or what they would do. And I knew this last time around, I seen it real clear. And I was like, I just fell back. And like I said, God told me, tell her what's going on with her. And that was just the end of that. But, these ones who have been trying to trap you, who thought they had you, Kingdom people, who was working on you for so long, some not for so long, some just for a little bit of time, they thought they had you trapped. But then they found out, Kingdom people, I ain't got you trapped. They started to realize you not the one. They started to realize, I want to say, you not as dumb as they thought, as naive as they thought, even if at one point you were. You didn't completely see what was going on. God showed you. He opened up your eyes and he moved you to move around them. But Kingdom people, your enemies thought they had you trapped. But God said, And that is all I have to say about that. So if you like this video and or if it resonates with you, please just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Then click on that subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you. Then make sure you ring my bell. Ring my bell. Ring my bell, Kingdom people, so that you can receive a notification every time I upload a new video. If there is any information you need to know about me, you can find that all right down below in the description box, along with other helpful resources. Kingdom people, thank you all so very much for being here. Thank you for all your likes, comments, subscribes, for all your financial contributions to my channel, for all the seeds that you sow into me in my ministry, for all of your feedback, for all of your bookings, and for all of your purchases. Kingdom people, thank you for everything that you do here. Thank you. Kingdom people, I love you all so very much. I really don't want to leave you, but I do have to go right now. But I will be back to hold my kingdom people down. Now, kingdom people, above all else, let the Holy Spirit lead you in all things at all times. Kingdom people, we are untouchable, we are unmovable, we are unbreakable, and we are unstoppable. Kingdom people, go and be great. That is our time. This Jesus girl is out. Peace.